everybody. Thanks to the other live stream crew in the world, and I think in the galaxy as well, and in the neighborhood. Okay. Also in the neighborhood of our galaxy, I think we are the most amazing. It is for sure, and international as well. Welcome, everybody. Let's start the round of hellos with Belgium. How are you, Chris, today?
I am fine, and it's sunny here in Belgium, and I have a lot of work to do, but I am happy. Happy that I am here together with you and with everybody who listens. And that's always a funny thing to do. I like it.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And the follow. Okay, we have the blonde man in black.
Good
How are
looking.
you today? Well, I think it's the blonde Terminator, American Terminator. I'll be back. How
I'll
are
be
you,
here.
Harper?
I am good. I am in sunny Arizona. We have finally done with 6 weeks of rain. I have plants growing that I have no idea what they are or where they came from, but it's wonderful. And everything is green right now. It is like amazing. It'll be this way for like 2 weeks, and then it'll be brown again. But I'm doing outstanding.
Wonderful.
I think, Harper, you have illegal immigrants on your yard.
Not above ground.
And talking about Terminator, how are you, Peter?
I'm fine, been very busy. Very busy up here in Aberdeen. We're getting a lot of wasp at the moment. Still getting wasp every day, which is great. Because that brings good revenue stream. And yeah, so I'm feeling healthy. Couldn't ask for more. Well, couldn't get more. Yes. Happy.
Perfect, perfect. So let's cross the ocean till Canada. How are you, Maria?
I'm fine. Thank you. So nice to see you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with the whole group from the international world. And I'm doing fine. The weather's lovely here. I'm going to go to the beach this afternoon once I finish business at 3 o'clock. I'm out to the beach. So I'm walking a lot more, enjoying nature and swimming and just having a lovely summer. So nice to see you all again. Thanks.
Perfect, perfect. And let's keep with these two amazing Amazon influencers from UK. Stephen, how are you?
Oh, right. Okay. I'm here and I'm actually demonstrating today that you should never have a green screen background with white in it. Because if you do, I'm trying to get this right, it doesn't work properly on one side of the screen. Things okay in Devizes in Wiltshire. Everything's going well. Went out to Lakecock Abbey at the weekend where the world's first ever photograph was taken. And 22 degrees today. So all's good in Wiltshire in England.
Perfect, perfect. And your partner, but also the most amazing international cooker on Amazon Live World. How are you, Nick?
Oh, I'm great, thank you, Marco. Yes, there is no start to my talent in the kitchen, I can tell you. It's sunny here in Farnborough. Actually, this weekend we had the British Motor Show. I didn't realise it was going on until all my back passage was clogged with traffic. But it was great. I was able to just walk across, look through the fence, see all these cars doing donuts and the like, and it was great fun.
Perfect, perfect. I don't know if you want to talk about some. Well, I have something to talk about. StreamYard tomorrow will do the summit, and for the first time, it will be 3 different stages. One in English, another one in Spanish, and the last one, but not the least, of course, it will be in Portuguese. So for the first time, there will be that thing. I was collaborating in the backstage with the event. I'm really happy because they asked my help, and also, but mostly because finally they heard me and other people complaining about having different languages in this live stream world, because for some people English is not easy to like you can see right now. So I think it's really good to think in this so beautiful languages.
I think that's
So
a nice
tomorrow,
idea.
Yeah.
if you want to learn, for instance, about branding, about how you should pick the right gear to your live streaming, how to build community, and also if you want to listen to just the amazing Gary Vaynerchuk, tomorrow it's the day. I think I'm gonna share the link in the comments meanwhile. But after this, and I think it's a nice thing to do, let's go into the week topic, and I'm pretty sure that we will come up with, with more topics. But this topic, I think it's a nice topic because I can give you some examples. Not it was not vacation, but it was a problem with travels. Okay. And also, so we can bring some travel funny situations, and that was we needed to go. We needed to pick a flight to Algarve. Okay, I live in the north of Portugal, so I needed to cross the whole country, which is a really long 45 minutes voyage in So we thought that the travel was on a Tuesday. Okay. And everything was planned to go to the airport. It was at the end of the day. So the time was normal. It's good. So we were, and suddenly in the middle of the Monday afternoon, some a guy who was supposed to go with us called me, Marco, do you know the flight is today? And okay. 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 And meanwhile, his father-in-law had made some injuries. He went to the hospital. We were in contact all the time. Can you make it? Can you make it? Oh, I'll try. But at the end, he couldn't make it. Okay, so we took the flight. We went to Algarve. I called it to the hostel to reschedule the room. I rented a car to travel around there because the airport is in Faro, and the city we want to go was Tavira, which is a little bit closer to Spain.
Yeah.
Very a lovely city. If you want to go to Portugal and spend in a not so touristic place, I think Nick knows Algarve, and for
Yeah.
instance, Albufeira, Faro, Portimão, they are really touristic city. Okay, and no problem with that. Okay, but Tavira, it's a really small, this kind of old ancient town, quiet. There's no, for instance, we went to there in the beginning of July. This situation was in January because we were planning a perform there in Algarve in the end of June, start of July, and we went July summer in Algarve, which is hot. In a Saturday night at 1 a.m., we didn't had any place to go there. Everything was closed. Okay, so, and it was before COVID. Okay, so we took the flight. We were arrived to the airport in Faro, and then I went to the car rental to pick the car. The situation: I didn't had enough money in my credit card. What I did? I picked my home banking app in the cell phone, and I forced a payment, okay, to get the right amount. For I don't know the gods that they were against me. It didn't take place. Okay, so I had to wait till the next morning. Then a friend who was with me, okay, let me try my credit card. It didn't also worked. Okay, so we didn't had a car.
Mhm.
We were there for around 1 hour. Okay, now we need to grab a taxi and go to the city by taxi. No problem. We arrived to the hostel. Ringing, ring, ring, nobody answering. Calling, nobody answering. And we said, Houston, we have another problem. So, and the funny thing, it was that my friend, we went to, he just brought books, just books, and I was carrying my suitcase because, as usual, if I want to 1 hour travel, I need to take 20 suitcases. Okay, at least. And so we were both of us, two guys, a couple of two guys, one carrying the suitcase, and the other one just books. Look,
Just
what do you think? If in the middle of the night you see this situation, so we grabbed a hotel, okay, and I think from this moment, no, there was another situation. I had a virtual meeting in on Wednesday, but I thought it was on Tuesday. So I had a meeting at Tuesday afternoon, for instance, at 4 p.m. And this online meeting was, for instance, at 3 p.m. And I was there looking for a quiet place to be on the meeting. I seated, I opened my laptop, I opened Skype, and I write it. I'm here, I'm waiting. And people were saying, what are you waiting for? It will be tomorrow.
Oh,
And I
oh, yes,
You just wanted a really good seat in the waiting room, is all.
yes, yes.
so
That's it.
that's my story.
Good one. Good one.
Let me give the microphone to Maria because she said she had something interesting to tell us.
Yeah. Okay, my turn was interesting because I do enjoy traveling and I stay in hotels or bed and breakfast. Well, I stayed in one bed and breakfast in Montreal, which was just terrible. And I said to myself, I'm never going to stay in another bed and breakfast. But the food was terrible. The service was terrible. It was a very snarky guy who ran the house. And I thought, how can you be running this business? Because I do bed and breakfast and cottage rentals also, right?
Mhm.
But I thought, oh no, I'll never do this again. And I have never stayed in any bed and breakfast unless it's people I know that own the bed and breakfast, or have a good reputation. But just going to a place that I don't know anything about, I've never done that since. I still prefer going to hotels with a nice pool and I can relax and I'm anonymous. I don't want to have to talk to anybody. I go on vacation not to have to talk to people because I talk to people all day long on the computer, on the phone, and in person with my business. So when I go away, I don't want to talk to anybody unless I want to. So that I can say that's one of the clearest visions that I remember. And I've traveled a lot all over. That was the worst that I've ever had, and I would never go back to another bed and breakfast. I don't know the people, first of all. So that's my story, short and sweet. Not as interesting as yours, Marco. Not as interesting as
Believe me. When I look back and I said, "Oh my God, two guys," and Marco was carrying the suitcase, and the other one like, okay, just a couple of books, like the intellectual, and I was the
donkey.
amazing. Stephen, I'm pretty sure that you have something to share with us.
Oh yes.
I've got two short stories. In the year 2000, December 2000, partner and I went over to Malta. Sorry, Cyprus. They're pretty close. You can confuse the two. And staying at the Holiday Inn on the seafront, beautiful swimming pool, fantastic place. And across the road was a travel agent. And the travel agents would, as you know, car, because you don't have a car, Cyprus, would arrange trips out for you. And the first trip they arranged for us was to the Troodos Mountains, which is where the Krikos church is. And it's a wonder to visit. It is, over the years, people have donated so much gold that it's all over the place. The altar, everywhere. Everything is gold, and it's just an amazing experience to actually walk around it and to be guided by the monks who still live there. It's a living church. People go to church there on a Sunday, and it's just a magnificent place on top of a mountain. And it's where Archbishop Macarius was trained, and he went back several times whilst he was Archbishop. And in fact, his tomb is just outside the church. So that was a fantastic trip. We travelled up there in a 4x4. And if you've ever travelled in the back of a 4x4 with just benches for seats, you'll know that it's quite a bumpy journey getting up. It's not much better going down. But we thoroughly enjoyed the day. And we thought, right, okay, this is good. That was a fantastic day out. Let's have another one. And we saw this leaflet, and it said, cruise. Yeah. And we got this, because we'd done the church, we got this picture in mind that the boat would leave the harbour and it would go out on a cruise. Okay. So the harbour is pretty close to the hotel. So we walk down to the harbour and walking past all these ships, beautiful yachts, cruise ships, everything. We got the name of the ship written down, so we knew which one we were looking for. And we thought, well, that's it. It's beautiful. We're going to go out on that. We're actually going to go out to sea. Yeah. Ours was tucked behind that boat, and it was tiny. And how do you describe this? It was seaworthy, obviously, because it was going to leave the harbour and actually go out. But this cruise, they had plastic seats, which was good, and a buffet table, which I think involved something from the supermarket and some crisps and everything. But then, of course, there was the cruise to come. So we left the harbour and we sailed out on the deep blue sea along the coast of Cyprus, and music was playing. We thought we'd get a romantic cruise here. You know, music was playing, everything was fine. And he sailed along, and he sailed as far as the Holiday Inn, which we'd walked from. And then he turned round and went back into the harbour. I'm not saying that was our best trip out. We'd rather go to Troodos and to the church, but the cruise was something else. It's something to be remembered. So that's my major story, holiday-wise.
Okay, let's go to Belgium to see if there's any cruise involved in funny holiday story.
Well, since my mother passed away, I am in the house and I have 3 cats now. So it's always staycation. I can't go away for longer than 1 day. But I am amusing myself with internet and now with live streaming. So I can go everywhere, but not in real life, of course. And I don't find that is very disturbing. I like it. So for the rest, I am amusing myself. I like the cats. In the former broadcast, my cat Molke was here. And she likes Steven. When Steven has done an Amazon broadcast, Molke was after me here on the couch.
I saw it.
Yes, I have taken a print screen from that. And so that's very amusing. For the rest, the weather was not so good here in Belgium. It was awful with very much rain. It rains cats and dogs, like men say in English. And that is difficult here because I live in an old house with an Art Deco koepel on the ceiling with a glass where the light comes in. It is now much light at the moment.
That's
And
beautiful.
yes, and the problem is that it's old, and when the rain is so heavy, I have the risk that the water comes inside the house. It's only when it's heavy, heavy rain and when the wind comes from a certain direction. It's not always. But that means that always I have to put up my computer, my laptop, my lights, and move to another side of the table, which is not so interesting, and then come back to here. Dus that's not so an interesting situation.
Yeah.
And the money that I must give out on holidays, I have invested that in Jarvis. So I can make
Excellent.
better English texts, and I like it very much. And I can even make texts in Dutch with it.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
So-
Good.
And
Wonderful.
what I did also, but something that shouldn't be possible when it's school, I have followed 2 courses with the Black Swan group on negotiating. And I like them also very much. I have much learned, and that can be interesting when I have the need of find sponsorship for my live streams when I am retired. So that's the story here from Belgium.
Nice.
Good, good. I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about excluding Chris from the group because
Oh.
with that negotiation skills, I don't know what she can do with us.
Yes. I agree 100%.
I don't know.
I can help you with this, with those skills.
Good.
You
good,
will be
good.
manipulating us, Chris.
No, I don't do that.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think Chris is that type of a person. Yeah.
And talking about manipulation, let's talk about with the men who manipulates so many species.
Oh,
Knows how to
and the man.
send them to other place in heaven.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Brad Peter Terminator. How are you?
What a build up.
It's your turn. It's your turn, Peter.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No,
Right.
no.
Nope, can't hear you.
Right.
Coming in, Houston.
So,
Coming in, Houston.
Here we go. Here we go. Right. The flight, talking about the flight was quite funny because we've got, you all know who EasyJet is, yeah? And they have a program in Britain where they watch people turning up, complaining, they're turning up late and they don't get to board. And it's quite funny watching them, right?
Mhm.
And you get people turning up, and I would sit at the television shouting at it. I'd shout things like, "You fool! You know, if you're 5 minutes late, you're not getting one. End of story. You're a fool. You should know this. If you not watch the program, don't turn up late and don't give them a hard time because you're a fool. Because you're late. You're the one that's late, not them. And they can't get a flight. So I lived in London. Now, the flight from London's 8 o'clock in the morning. No, the flight from Aberdeen's 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, one of them. So one of the way around, anyway. So there's a flight, no, that's it. Flight from London up to Aberdeen and back. Anyway. So I used to shout at, in fact, I shouted to people, you know, try to get their own way, especially the business. I'll never use you again, all that sort of stuff. And I shouted to television. Anyway, so Sheila comes down to see me in London, and she had to come back for a shift in Aberdeen when we went back. So I was coming back too, and we drive to the airport, and we get there, and we get to the flight, and the woman says, "What time do you think you have to book into?" And I said, half 9. She says, the flight left at 8 o'clock this morning.
Oh.
Oh,
And Sheila was working that night. I said, when's the next flight? She said, 5 o'clock at night. I says, oh. Instead of, and all the times I was telling people, you fool, I got a time wrong. And I turned to Sheila and I said to them, when's the next flight to Glasgow? And she says, I said, could you book us onto it? Could you get us onto it? So they did. And off we went to Glasgow, but we had to run to get it. And it's the fastest I've run, and it's the sorest I've been. I'll never forget being out of breath, running down the corridor. And we got there, went to Glasgow, and caught the train home, and poor Sheila was working that night. So that was that story. After me shouting at the television, and all those things, getting the time wrong. I never wrote it down.
It's
The
happened to
next
all
thing
of us.
is, my cousin said you should go to Malta for a holiday. So I went to Malta for a holiday. And I was in the middle, and I was put in a back room, looking onto a dark, horrible street. And within 2 days, I wanted home. I says, I'm going home. I've had enough. But then I decided, right, let's see what this place is built of. And I went out and I hired a quad bike. And I took Sheila and me, and we went on this quad bike, and we went up the north of Malta on a quad bike. And I always remember coming back about midnight, both of us on this quad bike, like youngsters. And then eventually got around Malta, and we took the last it's like what do you call it, a ferry, the last ferry over to a place called Valletta, where they've got a place called Straight Street. I don't know if you know of it. It's called Straight Street because it's one straight long street, but it's on a hill. It's actually sloped, and you actually have your meal outside in it, and you sit there on there, and all the sailors from the Royal Navy used to go there when Malta was kind of owned by the British. And then I went up and I looked over the Grand Harbour, and it was beautiful. So the moral is, if you're going on holiday, go out there, hire a vehicle, and get out and see the place.
Yes.
Because within 2 days, I was nearly going.
And be on time.
Yeah.
Peter, happens to all of us.
Right.
Run from one end of the airport to the other.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah, and I really would sit and shout at that people on the telly, seeing them going mad because they couldn't get them. I used to think it was hilarious.
Yes.
All that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but be on time. There you go.
Just enjoy it.
So, that's what happened. A second person turned up to be behind me, and he was late. He actually gave him a hard time. That's what, and I turned around and I said to him in front of the receptionist, "Now, this is why they helped me. I said, sir, have you ever watched the television program with EasyJet? You should know." He says, "Yes." I said, "Well, you should know by now. If you're late, you don't get on. They're not going to wait for you.
Yes.
No, don't give them a hard time." And the receptionist said, "We've booked you your flight to Glasgow, no charge, sir." That was the story.
You said what they want to say.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
Oh, I would be a lovely receptionist, me. You
Oh,
know?
perfect.
After their head was brought down for the third time. Bang.
Good stuff, Peter. Good
Next.
stuff.
Who's next?
Yeah, there's a reason I don't do that either. It would be the shortest career ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not for our types of attitude,
not-
right? I could.
Yeah, if you're outspoken to speak your mind, yeah, that's not a
Not the right. No.
yeah.
No.
Well, we have here a situation,
Yeah.
and I want to ask your opinion because someone called it Karinder Malhi
Oh.
asked
Never heard of him.
if there is if there's a space for him. What do you think?
Sure. Why not?
I'll leave for him.
There's always room for Krender.
Absolutely.
Okay, Karinder, pick the link in the group, and let's hope that the show host will allow you to join the group.
You never know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
You never know. So, talking about this, Harper,
All right.
what do you have to tell us?
Yes.
All right. Can I share screen?
How much are you willing to pay for that?
What whatever's left on Peter's credit card.
I've actually got
Okay, bring it, please.
in the credit card.
Let's see. How do I do this? I want to do this one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm down. You guys know where Arizona is. Can you see the little
Yes,
icon?
yes.
All right.
I live down here in Tucson. Okay. Really close. I live about less than an hour from Mexico. All right. So
Okay.
I see.
So
Yeah.
on my trip that I took last week, I went up to drove up through northern Arizona,
Mhm.
drove over the Grand Canyon. It was closed to tourists.
Oh.
Because it's on most of the Indian reservations here in the U.S. Are closed to any tourist type stuff because they're trying to not be hit by the Delta variant as hard as they were. The Navajo, which is what land the Grand Canyon is on, got hit the hardest probably in North America, and I'm going through there. I think that I might know why. There's no trees anywhere on that land. So there's nothing to put fresh oxygen out into the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked barren. I posted a picture with my Camaro of one of the hills just as we were leaving the Navajo area, but there's no trees anywhere in there. I'm like, what the hell do these people? Yeah. So, but working our way up to, our goal is Salt Lake City for the night. That'll be a 12-hour. That's a 12-hour drive, but I've driven up through California, usually stay in Sacramento. But there is nothing in this Southwest area. It doesn't matter what route you take. Right here in the middle of California, there's nothing. I mean, we're talking like 3-4 hours of nothing but road. Nevada's the same. Utah's the same. It is the most boring drive in that area. And I've been trying to find other routes. So we got to Salt Lake City, and I'm dead tired. And my sister was with me, and I wasn't about to let her drive my car. It's, mind you, this is my Camaro that I have. It's a little bit lowered. It's a lot faster. So yeah, it's
Beautiful.
It's one of those. No, Shelly doesn't even like it. Shelly's like, nope, not driving it. So we figured we'll get a hotel and sleep for about 8 hours or whatever, hit the road and do another 12 hours next day. Well, here in the States, I don't think you guys have a Motel 6 over there, but that's usually like our base model motel or whatever, the cheapest motel you can find. But without being like, bed bugs and everything else. But
Roach Motel, right? Roach Motel.
Roach Motel, yes. Portland has a lot of those, by the way. I found that out. But yeah, so I mean, he got in there, and I'm like, all right, Motel 6, pull in, and the guy comes in, and he's like, all we have is $103 room. We're talking this place this is like a $39.99 It's a $39 motel. All we have is 103. I'm like, for a Motel 6? Hell no. We turned around and walked away. We went across the street to, this other place that had a room for like $86. And I'm like, all right, yeah, see, much better. And so we get in, we get our key, and traffic's terrible getting in. Their parking, oh my God. It's like, I don't know what they were thinking people were driving, but so we get it, we get the car parked, we get up into the room, walk into the room, and immediately the first thing I see is the sink is literally hanging under the counter. It's hanging by the pipes. I'm like, no. We walk back down, and I'm like, I want another room. What's wrong with that one? Well, the sink is not vertical, it's not horizontal, it's vertical. And they're like, huh? It's hanging. Oh, okay. And he just, okay, here, I'll give you this one. It was like, it's no big deal. I'm like,
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with people? So we get that room, and I'm like, all right. And this time I'm cranky because I'm tired, haven't eaten. So we got the room, ordered pizza, and then it was like, by the time pizza came, ate it, I was asleep. So we got up the next morning and go. I was just like, man, this is terrible. Now Salt Lake City has the thing I don't understand about, well, the reason that this hotel had really terrible parking, the roads in Salt Lake City were mapped out before anything else. I mean, the place is a big grid. They never have traffic problems because the roads are so wide, and they're usually a lot of them are one direction, but their roads are so wide. And I asked somebody years ago when I was down there, because my younger sister lives there, and I said, why are the roads so wide? And they said, well, back in the day when they mapped everything out, they had to be able to make a U-turn with a horse carriage and 8 horses.
Oh my.
I'm like, wow, okay. So that's why they don't ever have to worry about expanding roads and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but so the next morning we got up, we did our thing, and so we made it up to Seattle. Oh my God. And then I was so tired. I was like, oh, and then we had to do stuff because I was going up there for my daughter's wedding, and I finally got to give her away. But so did that and everything. And then I was driving back, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going that same route because that is that's boring as hell on that one.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, I'll go down the, what we call Interstate 5, which goes all the way down to LA. And I figured, well, okay, so I'll go down, or I'll stop in Sacramento. And I got to Sacramento. I'm like, well, I'll drive until the sun goes down. Okay, so I keep driving, and I'm like, well, I'm almost to LA. I'll go to LA. So I go to LA, and I'm like, well, I'm not quite tired yet. So I'll start working my way to Phoenix.
Yes, sure.
But east of LA, mind you, these are the Rocky Mountains. I mean, there's a lot of hills. But so I got to in just east of LA, like way outside of the city, but east of LA. I ended up having to stop at a rest area. I'm like, okay, I can't make it because going through the area between LA and Phoenix is another desert. That's the Mojave Desert. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to fall asleep out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I figured a rest area, but I slept there. I slept for like 6 hours, woke up, and then made it back home. So I think
Safely.
I think I did it in 21 and a half hours, and it's supposed to be a 24-hour drive. But
Wow. You were in a row.
my average speed was 63.9, so about 64 miles an hour. Yeah, it's not too bad. Luckily, I've never gotten a ticket on these routes. I didn't hit 100, but I was close. Okay, and we can go back to me. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, at least this time I wasn't tried to be run off the road. I've driven across country from Seattle down to Georgia, and crossing through Nebraska, I actually had a semi truck, a tractor trailer, big rig, 18-wheeler, whatever you want to call them. There was 2 lanes going my way, and I'm driving, well over the speed limit. And this trucker goes to pass this other one, and well, I'm next to his trailer at this point. I'm shooting into the grassy area between, we call it a median. And if you've ever seen the TV show Dukes of Hazzard, that was me. Grass flying everywhere. My nephew in the car with me, just going, and it was so we did. Thank goodness it was all just grass and not rocks or trees or anything. Because we're in there, we're kind of halfway sideways, and we get back on the road and tell the individual behind us that he's number one, and continue, doing excessive speed. Of course, we never told his mom when he got home. He was only 15. But yeah, then when I went to last year, when I went up to my grandson's birthday, and I went to LA and then north, I had some guy behind me, and he was trying to pass me. He was so close to me, I couldn't even see the hood of his car. That's how close behind me he was.
Wow.
And I don't play that game.
Mm-mm.
So I just let off the gas, and I'm just, going slower, and then, I'll get behind somebody. So if the car, if I'm right here, another car is next to them, they're blocked in. You back off, I let you go. And so I finally let him go, and then he shoots over off across 6 lanes of the freeway, and then off to the exit. And I'm like, see, poor planning.
Yeah.
But luckily this time it was the driving was uneventful, which is good because I was so tired. I wouldn't have been able to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. And Peter, like you were talking about, I love people watching. People watching is anywhere you go, and an airport is the number one place to watch people.
Yeah.
Because you see them at their best and at their worst.
Yeah. Marco can relate.
But I've got a question. You've seen a journey like that. No, you went into some backward roads, if you know what I mean. Nothing there. How often did they tell you that there's a gas station or something going on? Because you could run out if you're not careful.
Yes. Good point.
There's it tells you like next services, whether it's food, lodging, gas. It'll say, especially out in the desert, it'll tell you next service is 46 miles. So you can look at it going, yeah, I'm not going to make that. So, luckily in my car, I get on the freeway, I get about 31 miles per gallon. So I can almost do 500 miles in on a freeway time, and that's even doing like a little over 90 miles an hour. So
and yeah, remember we've got the Automobile Association. Do you have that there too, that you can get picked up if you break down?
Yeah, we've got what's called AAA here. A lot of the states have a people going up and down the road looking for people who are broken down, especially when it's high heat and stuff. Yeah. And I've got it on our insurance. We have it where we can call roadside assistance. And so they'll come and they'll call whoever's in the local area and say, hey, go help these people.
Yeah.
And
sure.
And when you go into some of these backward station sort of places, did they look and say,
Oh, yeah. I think they're pretty scary.
Where are you from, boy?
Yeah, look at Marty Curry.
People here.
That would be scary to me.
People.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I was really good at in the military was, mind you, part of my career was law enforcement. So I worked undercover as a lot of things, and I can almost do any accent here in the U.S. and some abroad.
Wow.
I can't do Scottish. I can do British for a certain bit, but other than that, I end up using American words and it screws me up.
Yeah.
But so I can go anywhere and apply that accent to, you know,
Mhm.
seem somewhat local rather than, you know,
Mhm.
Foreign.
a West Coast
Foreign.
person
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
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 Can be pretty dangerous. But myself driving as a woman alone, because I've driven down to Florida myself 2 times. I've always stayed on the main roads, the main highways, and
Yep.
I've always gone to really like name brand Holiday Inn hotels. Like I never went to any shady, and I never got. I really didn't veer off the road because it's
Only do something that you can see from the freeway.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they all are right. They're just beautiful roads. And what I did, Harper, because I belong to CAA, then I belong to it again now, is I said to them, you can get maps mapped out with the book and everything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what I did is I said, please give me one that's the most scenic, and give me the other one that's scenic and long, and give me another map of the shortest route.
Yep.
So, depending on what I felt like, maybe I would go the shortest route down, but come up the most scenic or whatever. That's what I did. So I just,
Yeah.
those days we didn't have
Yeah.
GPS. Not that I have it now anyways. My map was my GPS, right? But staying on the main road, not much can go wrong anyways. Except
Mhm.
Mhm.
Perfect. So let's
Excellent.
go to the last in the group, and we talked about hotness, and Nick, he's a hot. He doesn't have any accent.
He's so patient.
I don't know how.
I have no accent whatsoever. No, I'm
Accent at
highly
all.
neutrally accented. Oh gosh, guys, when all these tales of airports, I did a lot of flying between Germany and London, and the number of times that I was stressed out because a flight had been cancelled or something like that was very rarely my fault. I only ever missed one flight, but I was kind of flying at one stage once a week at least. So the worst one that happened to me was I got to the airport and I was early, and it was great because I said what would normally happen was I'd say to the person at the checkout, I'd say, look, I said, I know there's another flight before the one I'm booked on. Is there any possibility that I can just get the earlier flight? And 9 times out of 10, not a problem. This one time, this woman said, "Oh no, you haven't got it's not a flexible ticket." I said, "No, I know that. It's
Mhm.
I know that, but I also know that 3:30 flight is always empty, and I don't really want to wait till the 7:30 one. I want to be able to get back to Germany and drive home." So anyway, I tried all my powers of persuasion, of which they are mighty, particularly in airports. I say it always works, apart from this one time. And this one time it happened, some complete knob decided to break into the perimeter of Heathrow Airport and shut the airport down. So, and then there's a certain time where you can't actually fly into Dusseldorf. So, yeah, having not been allowed the earlier flight, having to wait for the later flight, I was then told, "Oh, no flight. We'll have to put you on one tomorrow." So as you can imagine, I was a little bit less than impressed, but
Yes.
I just had to suck it up, and that was the thing. And then they said, "Oh, we can't put you up in a hotel," which is another annoying thing. So luckily, Heathrow is not too far from my brother-in-law, so he put me up, and he actually works there, so that was quite handy. But then I was thinking about the stressful holidays,
Yes.
and I'm not sure whether I should tell this story or not, but it kind of finishes off a story I was telling you once before, when I was single, and a load of us who lived all on the single part of our base, or just off the base, we decided we'd go and have a holiday in Gran Canaria. Now, if you were on the call, if you don't remember, just a brief recap was that we spent the week getting phenomenally drunk.
Oh yes.
Particularly me and my good friend Alison, and we would get so drunk. All the other guys would leave and go back to the little hotel type thing, or apartment to it, at about 1-ish, 2-ish in the morning latest. But Ali and I would go off to the gay bar in the gay centre. There was a gay bar, but like the Yompa Centre in Gran Canaria, where we could happily drink even later, and it raised eyebrows because we got chatted up by all sorts, and we'd be saying, no, it's okay. They're going, "But you're hetero." We're saying, yeah, we're just out for a drink. Don't worry about it. It's all good. But as you may recall, on the final night, we were drunk and we decided let's try and get frisky in the sea. So we went and did the friskiness, or attempted the friskiness in the sea. It was a complete disaster. Never go into the sea not even half cut, fully cut, attempting any sort of shenanigans with members of the opposite sex. Just doesn't work. But of course, we came out and when Alison had lost her handbag, had been stolen basically, because it wasn't where we left it. Not that we would particularly remember which. It was dark.
It might still be where you left it, but
it could have been. And as you recall, the end to that story was that we then, in our drunken state, were banging on a door thinking it was a police station, and it was a polyclinica. So it just, to me, it looked like a police station. Anyway, so we woke up the poor person there, who then told us, in some broken Spanish, that wasn't the police station, and what were we doing knocking them up so late? But fortunately, they did actually point us where the police station was, so we were able to go there, get a crime number, and that was all okay. Now, the two things were, obviously we were still drunk because we were going back the next day, so this was just later on in the morning for us, so we were still rather drunk. And then, but beautifully, because we booked it in Germany, and this is German efficiency for you, the German tour operator rang us and said, "Oh, there's an 8-hour delay on your flight. Would you like to? Shall we delay your pickup?" So Ali and I were like, "Oh, yeah, great. Thank God for that. Yeah, we can actually sleep and sober up." No, our fellow travellers decided, "Oh, it's best to get to the airport just in case things come forward." And we're like, "Oh," but we were in no state to really argue, to be honest. But what we did decide to do was we thought, I wonder if we can get so drunk at the airport that they won't let us on the plane. So we proceeded to get absolutely screamingly ratted. But the buggers still let us on they eventually did go, and they let us on the plane. And the really frustrating thing was that we both pretty much passed out as soon as we got on the plane. We got woken up 20 minutes before landing, and we were hungry. We're like, "Well, we haven't had our meal. This is, like, no, you slept through it." And we were like incredulous. It was like outrageous.
Terrible customer service.
But that thing, so because I was screamingly drunk all that time, that wasn't stressful at all.
No.
The stress happened a couple of days later when Alison comes over to my house and says, "Nick, I've developed a rash." And I'm like, "Well, it wasn't me, love." Absolutely couldn't be me. But unfortunately, I was there and I priced and managed the contracts for the healthcare. So the healthcare was provided by the organisation I worked for. So it's going to look really bad if someone goes in to the med centre where they all know me and it says, "Oh yeah, I've got this," and they say, "Oh, we'll have to do some contact tracing." Yeah. So I'm like, I said, "Ali, I said, are you sure? Are you really sure that this is like?" She went, "No, seriously." She said, "I'm going to have to go." I'm like, "Oh God, oh no." Heat rash.
Good. That's good. I'm glad it was.
For like 24 hours. That was the most stressful end to a holiday I had ever had. And the moral of the story, I'd still do it again.
That's too much fun.
Way too much fun.
Fun just listening.
That guy that broke into the perimeter of the airport, it's the same guy that breaks into a football game and runs around naked.
Oh, I tell you, if I'd have seen him, I'd have killed him on sight. That was just.
I think that was the climate people who are actually holding London to ransom again today.
Oh, these climate people. They need shooting. They really do.
I would have locked them up 10 years each. Wham, 10. Who's next? 10 years.
I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, I don't mind these protests as long as they don't interfere with my daily life.
If that had been,
Exactly.
If that had been another organisation, they would have all been arrested and huckled away. This lot are getting huckled and then they're letting them off. Did you know that?
Just force them to work at the airport.
Yeah.
The climate change is a line in the ground and the police are standing watching them. oh, you're allowed to protest, holding up the traffic. And I just said, hold it, come on, here's the cuffs on you. Where you go, Grandma? Next. And then they'll let them out. They'll let them out. What's that?
I'll tell you what made me laugh the other day, Peter. I don't know whether you saw it. There's like police cars now with pride
Oh,
paint jobs on them.
oh,
It's like,
no comment.
yeah, let's really scare the, gay
Yeah.
criminals having a laugh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And did you know if you mention it, you could be in trouble?
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, if you say anything against it,
I guess, yeah. I think it's all over the
Yeah.
world that way
it's
now.
a bit like hate speech.
Yeah, it's that way here too. I mean,
Yeah.
Certainly in the UK, they don't like truncheon jokes. I can testify to that
No.
as well. Some policemen have no sense of humour
So,
whatsoever.
and that's why it's gagging for Britain.
Mhm.
Definitely no problem. Marco,
Yes.
over to you.
Well, we are almost finishing.
Mhm.
So the question, based in the conversation we had, is: are you planning the next holidays and where? Maria.
Oh, yes. You know what? I'm taking mini holidays. Like I'm going on holiday this afternoon after 3:00, and I'll be out until 9:00. So I do mini holidays now, and only in Ontario. So I'm not going to be going out of Ontario. I don't want to go out of Ontario at this point with the coronavirus and all. I'm just enjoying my own backyard, just like Chris. Stay vacation, but I'll going to because we've got lots of beaches here and lots of walking spaces, just like you do in Europe. So that's what I'm enjoying, and that's it.
Mhm.
Thanks. Thank you.
Chris.
Well, for me, it's always staycation. And I hope to see, yes, and I hope to see Steven and Angelica once. I have invited them to come to St. Nicholas
Mhm.
and to eat in the castle there in the park.
Mhm.
That's I think that's possible. And for the rest, I think that the coming year I will go 2 times out, but only for 1 day. 1 day to Bruges and 1 day to Ghent. And that will be all.
Perfect.
Not so much, but well, very good.
Enough for you.
Okay. And Harper, how many times are you crossing United States in the next few days?
I cannot give you that number. But don't look at the trunk. No, I'm not going anywhere. I have too many little animals to entertain me, and like Maria, I have a lot of beaches. Unfortunately, I just have no water that approaches those beaches. So, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Stephen, besides visiting Chris?
Well, it's not, well, actually, it turns out that we're actually going to Germany for Christmas.
Nice.
So meeting up is a distinct possibility. We'll be flying to Amsterdam and then getting the train from Amsterdam to Engeloe, and then we'll get picked up and we'll have to do the reverse journey in the new year. So we could well arrange something. In the meantime, we actually take Fridays off now, and we go somewhere every Friday. And
Excellent.
no broadcasts, no nothing,
Yeah.
no lessons, no
Yeah.
teaching. So we've got a 3-day weekend.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Good for you, Stephen. You've worked so hard all year. You need that.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This
Peter!
Amazon Live.
Me, right, okay, so Sheila bought a camper van. It's mainly for her and her dog agility, but we'll hope to go away for a few days, and one day I'll even broadcast from it and come onto the show from it. I'd like to do that. But the city behind me, you all know where it is, don't you? It's Berlin behind me. And I'm going to make it my mission to visit Berlin once a year minimum, because it's my favourite city in the whole world. And I'm going to try and learn a wee bit of German, but when you speak to them in German, they speak back in English. Did you know that?
And how did you Germany speak, sir?
Do you know why?
If you speak
Well,
with an English accent, that's
yeah,
a giveaway.
They're
I went
trying
and I
to.
met a Scottish woman on the plane, and that was another story. I got another night in Berlin because it was the rain was coming down and thunder like, so they couldn't take off. So I got another night in Berlin, was great, and I spoke to this woman from Glasgow. She said, "Oh, I heard your accent." I says, "I'm from Aberdeen." We got chatting away, and I seen her. She lived there. She worked in HR. She could speak fluent German.
Mhm.
And I went up to her and I says, "Why are you not speaking to them in German?" No, she lived there. She goes, "They like to speak English."
Mhm.
They like
prefer
it. They do. They
English
speak
to-
perfect English. A lot of
Yeah,
Germans
so
speak
they can
perfect English.
practice.
Yeah.
But one story, when I was a younger man, 1989, when I was stationed in Berlin, I was down in a bar and we were there and we met two guys from British Airways who were aircraft engineers.
Mhm.
And we were standing there now having a laugh, and there was two women, pardon the one, taking the urine out of us, right, in German. And at the end of the night, the guys turned round to the two ladies and said, "If you're going to talk about us," and he spoke in perfect German, he says, "if you're going to talk about us, make sure we don't know German." And he
Mhm.
said, and
Yeah.
their faces were bright red because they lived there. They weren't soldiers and that, and they'd learned the language, and that was them. It was quite funny to see their faces.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's me.
Mhm.
Okay, Nick.
Actually, that reminds me of a guy I used to know, Matthias, who was a German baker, and he lived with us. This is years and years ago, before I moved to Germany, and he had an English girlfriend, and they were on holiday, and that happened to him in the queue, where Germans were moaning about the English, and they didn't realise that he was German because he had the English girlfriend. So he told them the same thing. But no, Marco, I have no holiday plans whatsoever. Bless her, my mother-in-law is requires care, and as an example, we had my parents' 60th wedding anniversary last weekend, and we
Wow.
stayed overnight. Luckily, not very far away,
Mhm.
and my mother-in-law's family was supposed to be manning up and making sure she was covered. And yeah, lo and behold, we had a phone call first thing Sunday morning saying, "Oh, no one's come." So we had to hightail out there. So yeah, no, we're going to be staying put where we are. So,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I live in sunny Farnborough. What's not to love?
Yeah.
Of course.
You take a virtual trip to Australia every
Exactly.
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm a little bit miffed that I haven't been invited by Chris, but hey,
Yeah.
That's possible always here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn up.
Yes, for sure. Surprise her.
So I think I will be hiking next Saturday, and I'm wishing maybe in late, well, that's only a week for August to finish. So I think in the beginning of September I may take some days off in Spain.
Oh,
Uh-huh,
lovely.
okay.
Lovely. Lovely. Yeah, beautiful place.
And
Place.
talking about that joke, Peter, there was a time a long time ago, more than, well, I think it was 25 years ago or 24. We went to I played football by that times in the local team. Okay, and we went to, as usual, there's a Portuguese French tournament with small teams, not big teams, of course, in France. So we went there, and in the day before the tournament started, we went to Paris to travel around, and there was a beautiful young lady there, and one of the Portuguese guys said some not so lovely words in Portuguese about that lady, not and she replied to him like, "Do that to your wife," in Portuguese, of course. That's the problem when you go to a city where 10% of the people living there it's Portuguese or with Portuguese roots.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so be really careful when you go to Paris speaking Portuguese.
Yes.
My main advice. Say that. Let's throw the ball to Mr. Stephen Healy, who will be hosting next week.
I'll try and catch it. Okay. First of all, on behalf of everyone here, Marco, we wish you every success tomorrow with Hopping and StreamYard. And we
Yeah,
hope
thank you
that
so
your
much.
show- What time is your show on? Your bit.
I-
We're not interested in anybody
I-
else. When's your
I'm
bit?
just in the backstage. Okay, I won't show up. I think. Okay, at least, but
Okay.
I made my advising recommendation job about some topics because we have two big, okay, not two big markets because Portuguese is small. We have the huge Brazilian market, okay, and also the Portuguese. And one of my main jobs was to think about interesting topics to bring to people this most common needs of the market because there's a main difference between Portuguese and Brazilians is it's very difficult to put a Portuguese in front of a camera. It's very hard to put a Brazilian away from the camera.
Yes. For sure.
So they love to communicate. Brazilian, they if you go to Brazil and you start talking with a Brazilian, you have conversation to a week at least. Like they know you from the whole life.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so but besides that, this, and for instance, the crew in the room, we are kind of aware about lights, about microphones, about cameras and everything, but for most of the people, this still being the, like to say in Portugal, it's still being Greek. Okay. So that was,
It's
but
all Greek
I
to
think
me.
maybe in the future I will go to the stage as well. I think,
Yeah,
in the
good
future.
idea.
But because
Global team.
there's one thing on these events. There's people who needs to go to the stage, and there's another one who needs to be advising, helping. So this time was time to help, and I'm really grateful and to being helpful to this event. Stephen, now it's up to you, my friend.
Right, okay. From our global team around the world, we've enjoyed talking to you today. We'll see you again on Wednesday, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.